Hello students, welcome to the third session of the second year NCERT chapter number 7, that is evolution. In session 1 and session 2, we have learned different theories of evolution. We have learned about Miller's experiment, how the earth did get evolved or what was the condition based on which one life did emerge in the earth. And we have studied in the second session regarding evolution of life forms, contribution of Charles Darwin, Lamarck as well as Alfred Russel Wallace. We have come across different types of evidences regarding evolution. For example, homologous organs, analogous organs. We have learned different examples along with this. Plus we have also learnt about vestigial organs. We have also learnt about adaptive convergence. We have discussed about certain types of evidences regarding natural selection, that is especially during industrialization in England. In today's class, we will be learning about adaptive radiation. So, adaptive radiation means it is evolution. Now, for example, there will be a single ancestral organism from which there will be development of different types of organisms. That is, to define this adaptive radiation means it is evolution of the ancestral type in different directions to form different species. That means from a single ancestral type, the organisms will adapt themselves to form a new species. To prove this one, we have learnt about, while we dealt about evidences of living forms, we had come across Charles Darwin, who did travel or who did had his voyage in HMS Beagle, in which we have studied that he visited Galapagos Island. So here he did collect some evidences regarding this adaptive radiation, especially in the types of birds that is called finches. The finches or the ancestral finches were fruit eating. Where he could find that? Galapagos is a group of islands you can find there. In each of the island you could find finches but with different types of beaks, indicating that the beaks were different because the food habits what was available there was completely different. ಅಂದರೆ ಫಿಂಚಸ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂತಹ ಬರ್ಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ಯಾಲಪೇಗೋಸ್ ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ಮಿನಿ ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಗಳು ಇವೆ. ಸೊ ಆ ಮಿನಿ ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಡುಕಿದಾಗ ಚಾರ್ಲ್ಸ್ ಡಾರ್ವಿನ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ದ ಬೀಕ್ ಶೇಪ್ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ಲಿ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್. ಒಂದು ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್, ಇವಾಗ ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ನಂಬರ್ 1 ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ನಂಬರ್ 2. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಫಿಂಚಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೀಕ್ ಶೇಪ್ ವಾಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ಆದರೆ ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ನಂಬರ್ 2 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಬೀಕ್ಸ್ were something different. So these were all finches itself, but the shape of the beak were different in different types of finches which were available in different islands. That means what? Based on whatever food is available in that particular island, they have modified their beaks in the course of evolution. That is what is adaptive radiation. The thin and sharp beak indicated that these type of finches did feed the certain types of insects as well as beetles, whereas the claw-like, finger-like or claw-like, nail-like structure of the beak indicated that they fed on buds, fruits as well as nuts. So original ಆಗಿರುವಂತಹ ancestral fruit eating ಅಥವಾ seed eating ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಕಾಮನ್ ಫುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಟ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್, ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಎನ್ವೈರನ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಅವೈಲೇಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಫುಡ್, ದೇ ಡಿಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ದೇಯರ್ beak structure in the course of evolution. That is about adaptive radiation. It means that evolution of organisms in different directions from a single ancestral type. That is what is adaptive radiation. Next, one more example for this you can give is the Australian marsupials. Marsupials means the one which is having pouch. Maximum number of organisms or large occupying marsupials will be the koalas as well as the kangaroos, which have occupied the land area as well as the trees. So these are one more examples which might have developed or evolved from their ancestral type, that is nothing but adaptive radiation. So two examples, one will be the shape of the beak in case of finches, another will be the Australian marsupials. So that is adaptive radiation. Next one is the biological evolution. Any genetic change in a population that is inherited from one generation to another generation, that is what is called a biological evolution. For example, if you take a culture of bacteria, now you alter the food here. So the bacteria will be present or will be growing in a medium. This medium provides them food. When you grow this bacteria in a medium, what happens? They normally reproduce themselves, increase their number if the medium is favorable. Now what you do is you have to alter the medium by adding a small amount of poison in it. That is very minute amount. So what happens if you add or alter the medium? No need of adding poison only. You can simply alter the medium. When the medium is altered, what happens to the bacteria? Within a day or within an hour, half of the bacteria will die and half will survive. If you leave it like that only for 2 days, what happens? The half survived bacteria will increase their number, and if the bacteria are grown in the altered medium again, then there will be no change. All the bacteria will survive. Now once again you alter the medium. Now if you alter the medium for the second time, again in the half survived one, now we have left it to increase their number, again half will die and half will survive. So here what does it mean? Those bacteria which are surviving, it is selected by the nature so that it can adjust to any type of environmental condition or the available food. Whereas half will die, here they have failed to survive in the nature and or environmental condition provided by the nature. That is why half of them do die. So which all organisms, it is not only about bacteria, in together about any organisms which can tolerate and survive in any type of environmental condition, that will be selected by the nature and retained by the nature, whereas which cannot tolerate, that will be removed by the nature. This is what is one more evidence for natural selection. So biological evolution means here any genetic change in the population which is inherited from generation to generation. That is what is called biological evolution. Based on this concept, Lamarck had put forward a theory regarding evolution about the increase in the or elongation of neck in case of giraffe, but that was not accepted and completely failed. Only after Charles Darwin, who put forward his theory regarding natural selection, this biological evolution was much more confirmed regarding the concept. Based on Charles Darwin's work, Thomas Malthus also put forward a theory regarding population or size of population, saying that it remains constant or undergoes changes based on variation, struggle for existence, natural selection, as well as survival of the fittest. So that's about biological evolution as well as different concepts put forward by different scientists. So the mechanism of evolution, in which the concept of mutation, which was put forward by Hugo de Veris. So he put forward the theory of mutation. So mutation means these are directionless and a sudden change which takes place in a population. So these do not have a particular direction and a single step change which takes place from one generation. If one generation is having one particular character, very next generation also will have a different character. That is what is termed mutation, which was put forward by Hugo de Veris. But Darwinian concept regarding variation was completely different. Variation means it is a slow change plus it is having direction. That means only one particular character or 2-3 characters which change not in a very next generation, but it takes very long generation, 4 to 5 generations, 10 generation or 20 generation to achieve that particular changed character. That is what is variation, which is put forward by Charles Darwin. But according to Hugo de Vries, especially in case of small organisms or unicellular organisms, here the change is directionless as well as very quick. That is why it is termed mutation. Sometimes what happens is single step large change takes place. That is what is termed saltation. That means saltation means it is a single step large mutation is termed saltation, which can be observed in the very next generation. According to Hugo de Vries, this mutation or the saltation have led to formation of new species, which is called speciation. So speciation is mainly because of mutation. Sometimes due to variation also it leads to formation of different species, but it is a slow process compared to mutation. So that is about the mechanism of evolution. Next very important concept will be Hardy-Weinberg's principle. So according to Hardy-Weinberg's principle, here this principle was put forward by 2 different scientists, G.H. Hardy and E. Weinberg. According to Hardy and Weinberg, in a large population, the gene frequency of different genes remains constant only under certain conditions. The conditions were large sexually reproducing population, and if there is no mutation, no variation and no selection. Under these conditions, the population gene frequency can remain constant. So according to G.H. Hardy and E. Weinberg, it means that in a large population, the gene frequency of different genes remains constant under certain conditions, like a large population which undergoes sexual reproduction, and if there is no selection, no variation and no mutation or migration. So under these conditions, everything or the gene frequency remains constant. To prove this, there is a mathematical formula, that is P plus Q is equal to 1. So now let us consider that capital A and small a, these two are the alleles of a character which you can use to represent this one. Now to split this formula, it represents like P plus Q whole square is equal to P square plus 2PQ plus Q square. So I will represent these characters in this one. Now P will be represented as A and A, 2PQ, that is A and small a, whereas Q will be represented as small a, small a. Now let us represent the gene frequency. So the gene frequency of capital A allele will be P and small a will be Q. So if it is represented in this formula, P plus Q is equal to 1, that is P plus Q whole square is equal to P square plus 2PQ plus Q square. We have to represent these characters or these alleles in this formula. So it will become so in a population, capital A allele represents 50% of the population and small a represents about 50% of the population. So let me represent both the alleles in the formula. So it will become where P represents 50% of the family or the character. So it will be somewhere around, if you take half of the population, it can be represented as 0.5. Same thing you can apply for Q also, which is 50%, half of it or half of the population, that will be 0.5. Now we have applied the characters here, so you have to use the same concept. Now P, I told you, it represents the gene frequency of allele A. So representing the same in the formula, so here it will be 0.5 whole square plus 2 into 0.5 into 0.5 plus 0.5 whole square. So in together it will be 0.25 plus 0.5 plus 0.25, 25% p square plus 50% pq plus 25% q square. So here I will represent this gene frequency in the form of alleles. It will become 25% capital A plus 50% capital A plus 25% small a, which will be equal to 1 or 100. Hence proving P plus Q is equal to 1. And based on this formula, we can prove that there is no change in the gene frequency, which means that there has no evolution taken place. And this formula is represented in the form of Hardy-Weinberg's principle, with the representation of characters as well as the gene frequency. So once again, to discuss, Hardy-Weinberg's principle state that in a large population, the gene frequency of all genes remain constant under conditions like a large population which undergoes sexual reproduction, and there should not be any migration, mutation, variation and selection. That happens only under Hardy-Weinberg's principle. That means the gene frequency remains constant and there is no chance of any evolution. So that's it about Hardy-Weinberg's principle. Very important question for your examination. Next is natural selection. So natural selection means this is selected, or the organisms are selected by the nature. A better individual which can survive in any type of environmental conditions, or which can tolerate the variations taking place in them. That is what is called a natural selection. Organisms with very high variations which are selected by the nature. Natural selection can be represented in three different forms. One is stabilized form, directional form and disruptive form, which can be written in the graphs what I have drawn here. So here I have taken an example of body size of organisms and the number of offsprings which are produced by different sized organisms. I have taken three different sized organisms: small sized, intermediate sized and large sized organism. In case of stabilizing natural selection, in this graph you can see that I have written a graph which has two extreme ends which are lesser in level compared to the middle graph. That means here the middle part is having a peak, indicating that small sized organisms or large sized organisms, they produce lesser number of offsprings, and only the intermediate sized organisms produce large number of offsprings, indicating that natural selection mukhantara large sized to small sized organisms ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ in the course of evolution vanish ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ intermediate sized organisms ಮಾತ್ರ survive ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ chances ಇರುತ್ತೆ, because they have produced large number of offsprings compared to large sized and small sized organism. That is what is stabilizing natural selection. Next, in case of directional type of natural selection, I have drawn two graphs. You can see here the graph is pushed towards any one of the extremes, either towards that extreme or towards the size extreme. That means what? Here small sized organisms and intermediate sized organisms do not produce large number of offsprings, whereas large sized organisms produce large number of offsprings. This is the representation of one graph, and the second graph shows that here small sized organisms have produced large number of offsprings compared to intermediate and large sized organisms. That means what? In directional type of natural selection, the graph is pushed towards any one end. This means what? In directional natural selection, the graph will be either pushed to any one side. If it is pushed towards the left side, it indicates that large sized organisms produce more offsprings compared to small sized and intermediate, which will be removed by the nature. Whereas if at all it is towards right side, that indicates small sized organisms are produced in higher number and intermediate and large sized organisms produce lesser offsprings and will be removed by the nature. That is about directional type of natural selection. Whereas when it comes to disruptive type of natural selection, in the graph you can see two peaks here, which means that small sized organisms as well as large sized organisms produce equal number of offsprings, indicating that will be selected by the nature, and the depression here represents the intermediate organisms which are producing fewer offsprings, and that will be removed by the nature. In case of disruptive type of natural selection, you can note that there are two peaks. Both small sized and large sized organisms produce larger number of offsprings compared to the intermediate. These are the three different types of natural selection. In stabilized type of natural selection, for which all of these three examples we have taken body size as an example. In case of stabilizing, small sized, large sized will be removed and only intermediate sized organisms will be retained. Whereas in directional, there are two types of graph, either towards one extreme or towards the opposite extreme. That means what? Either small sized organisms or large sized organisms, whereas intermediate and the one which is not producing offsprings in higher amount will be removed. In case of disruptive, both small sized and large sized will be in higher number producing their offsprings compared to the intermediate. That is about natural selection and different types of natural selection. Sometimes what happens is, from the main population, few of the organisms get separated. They might not die, but as they become separated, they will be transferred into some other place. For example, if you consider this is a large population. From here, now imagine that there are 10 individuals. From here, some of the species or some of the organisms might have separated from this large population and they have become isolated. Isolated means they cannot come back to these population. They are, because of natural boundaries, they are restricted to this particular area only. So imagine that 5 of them have separated from this population and they are isolated somewhere else. What happens is, they do not die there. Instead, they undergo certain adaptations in that particular available resources and try to form a new population. This new population formed might not resemble the parental population. So this leads to formation of a new species, and this effect is called a founder effect. So what is the founder effect? A genetic drift in a large population to form a new population is termed founder effect. So because of which one a new population has been formed, even though they do not look like their parental form, but these parental forms can be considered as their ancestor, and this is what is termed founder effect. So that's all about natural selection. Next you will be studying about evolution of earth as well as evolution of man. So after the Big Bang theory, once the earth started to cool down its temperature, almost around 2000 million years ago, life or first cellular forms of life appeared on the earth. Some of the cells released oxygen similar to photosynthesis in case of plants. 500 million years ago, single-celled organism become multicellular, that is invertebrates were formed and they were active. 350 million years ago, that gave out jawless fishes and seaweeds. 320 million years ago, plants invaded land for the first time. In case of fresh water or sea water, fishes with snout and strong fins could move on to the land and get back to water once again. Lobed fins evolved into amphibians which could live both in water and land. Those ancestors are now considered to be modern frogs and salamanders. Amphibians evolved into reptiles which had thick layered skin, shelled egg and wouldn't dry in sun like turtles and crocodiles. 200 million years ago, giant form of dinosaurs were formed and some invaded water to form fish-like reptiles. For example, Ichthyosaurus. One of the biggest dinosaurs is Tyrannosaurus, which was almost 20 feet in height and had huge fearsome teeth. Some small kind exist even now, whereas some of them have modified into birds. Shrews are the first formed mammals which are viviparous, that is give birth to young ones. Mammals took over and dominated. Some of the natural calamities, continental drift, disappeared the animals into different areas. Some of the mammals restricted to water were whales as well as dolphins. That is about how different types of organisms were invaded or introduced into the earth atmosphere and slowly how they got adapted into the modern organisms. Next we will be studying about evolution of man. $15 million years ago, Dryopithecus, that means ape-like, and Ramapithecus, that means man-like, were discovered in Ethiopia and Tanzania. 2 million years ago, Australopithecus were identified, and in that era you could find that these Australopithecus did hunt with stoned weapons and did eat fruits. Next is Homo habilis with a brain capacity of 650 to 800 cc were found but did not eat any meat. Next, Homo erectus, discovered in Java about 1.5 million years ago, had a large brain capacity of 900 cranial capacity or cc. These ate meat and they had an erect vertebral column which had now started to become from quadrupedal into bipedals. Next is Neanderthal man with a brain size of 1400 cc, lived in East and Central Asia between 1 lakh to 40,000 years before. They used to hide and protect their bodies and bury their dead. That means they have slowly moved towards modernization or civilization, where they started wearing clothes or covered their body with the help of animal skin. They protected themselves within the caves. They had families. Next is Homo sapiens. Arose in Africa around 75,000 to 10,000 years ago, and in this particular form, that is just before 10,000 years ago, agriculture was introduced by them. They started to grow their own food crops rather than consuming only meat. That is the rough idea about evolution of man. There are many links which are missing and still not identified to give a proper picture of humans, how did they get evolved. So that is all about this chapter, evolution. So in today's class, you did learn about adaptive radiation, biological evolution, mechanism of evolution regarding mutation theory put forward by Hugo de Veres, Hardy-Weinberg's law regarding the gene frequency remaining constant if there is no evolution, migration, variation and selection, and natural selection with different types of graphs in it, that is stabilizing, directional and disruptive. And also you have learnt about evolution of organisms, how were they introduced into earth and how they have modernized into different organisms, which you can see now, as well as evolution of man. Thank you.